we meet, and welcome to Tarot Tuesday here at Ariel's Corner. This is Ariel Gatoga, and we are streaming live on YouTube and on Twitch. Moderating today on YouTube are the lovely Dre and the lovely Heather, and moderating on Twitch is the lovely Deline. Thank you so much, moderators, and thanks to everybody for joining us for today's tarot class. I hope you're having a wonderful, wonderful day. If you celebrate Thanksgiving, I hope you had a good one. And if you don't celebrate Thanksgiving, I still hope you had a good one, whatever it is that you did do. And we're going to get right into this. Just as a reminder, we're here every single Tuesday except for the first Tuesday of the month, which will be next week. And on the first Tuesday of the month, we have readings. So if you want a reading from me, you can come back next week and get your name in the queue, and we'll get you going. All right, so we are here. What was I going to tell you? Oh, yeah. If you want to donate to us, that's how you do it. That's right. If you want to donate, you can go to paypal.me/ArielGatoga, paypal.me/ArielGatoga. If you're watching live on YouTube, you could use a super sticker or super chat. If you're watching on a restream, you could use a super thanks. We have a shop over at arielscornershop.com, arielscornershop.com, where we sell all kinds of cool stuff, even tarot decks. We make a small commission off of each and every sale, and we appreciate your support. Now, if you happen to be watching this video on YouTube, please make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell. If you're watching us on our Twitch channel, please make sure you follow us on Twitch. You can watch on Twitch without any ads simply by subscribing to us there. Isn't that swell? All right, so for these classes, I'm using this professional edition of Marseille Tarot by Lo Scarabeo. It's a wonderful collection. I put the link if you want to buy your own copy of it. It's not super expensive as tarot decks go, but it does come with a nice little booklet and just an ad card here. And this booklet is in several languages, so it ends up not being that big of a booklet. I haven't read it, so I don't know if it's any good. But it is in here, and I think it's real pretty. And the cards are huge, so it may be a bit much for reading, but it's great for spells and for if you do tarot spells. We're going to get into tarot spells as the time goes on. And if you like for meditation and for reading too, if you want big cards for reading. I find them a little hard for stream readings just because I run out of screen space. It's always out of the shot. All right, last week we ended up on the Chariot, which I believe we finished, so we can move on. Okay, let me just get rid of what we did. All right, there we go. Okay, so now we're on the Justice card. Now, it's interesting because you'll notice that in a lot of the modern tarot, they've switched the Justice card. They've, quote, corrected it. All right, so the Justice card was put as card 11 in a lot of the new decks just because they wanted this to correspond with Libra. And if you put the zodiacal signs in order according to the paths on the tree, then this should be Libra. Libra is 11, and since they thought this was better for Libra and that the Strength card was better for Leo, that if they just transposed them, then everything would work in their system. So that's fine. You can use that if you want to. But the original is not that. The Justice card is number 8, not number 11. Okay, now sometimes Justice is blindfolded, but very frequently not. That's usually more current interpretation. So she's sitting in a, well, I say she, it's usually a female figure, but I guess it doesn't have to be. Sitting on a throne with a sword, with a pair of scales, looking straight ahead. So, and then also they are also wearing a crown. So there's some sense of royalty or majesty here as well. So the Queen of Justice, the Goddess of Justice is what I call this card. So what is justice? Justice, from a divine perspective, is simply just the balance that nature always has. So, where you can see justice in action constantly. Whenever, if you get tired, you need to sleep. If you inhale, then you're going to need to exhale. It's just the rebalancing of everything in the universe. So usually when this comes up in a reading, it has to do with almost always, not always, but almost always, very frequently. And again, you're going to want to check the other cards surrounding it to get the full picture. And we'll get into more of that on another lesson. But very frequently, this deals with the fact that there's been some sort of mistreatment of the querent, of the person getting the reading. Somehow they've been mistreated, they've been unfairly treated, something has not been right. Somehow there's been some imbalance, very frequently not of their own making, or they feel like it's at least not of their own making. And this is a reminder and an assurance that the universe hasn't forgotten them, and that all is being balanced back out. There's always going to be a balance. And so whatever has happened, I call this, well, I don't call it, but it is known as the divine law of restitution. So just like, when somebody is in human courts, when somebody is sued and they find against that person, then you get compensation for it. If somebody's actually mistreated you. Well, it's very similar in the court of the divine, but it's not based on human laws. It's based on divine law. So if there was mistreatment of this person, they can call on that divine law of restitution and allow themselves to get that justice that is already inherent in the situation. Remember that the universe doesn't need time like we do. The universe doesn't need time like we do. So if they were mistreated and there was something imbalanced, the justice is already there. The balance is already there. Now, in this world, things take time. In this world, things take time. So even if they did nothing, everything would eventually work itself out. But I oftentimes will remind the person, if this comes up, that they can actually call on that divine law of restitution consciously and claim the restitution that is their divine right. So the other thing too about the law of divine restitution and this justice card is it may not happen the way the person thinks it, quote, should. Very often we have an idea of what justice is supposed to look like, and if it doesn't conform to our particular understanding of it, then we get disappointed. And I always like to remind them that it's going to be whatever was taken is either going to come back to them with interest in the form that you lost it, or something better. Something better. It won't be worse. Something better for you. It may come, you may see the person involved getting, quote, their just desserts, but you may not. It may come from that person, but it may not. And ultimately, the justice is none of our business other than how it affects us personally. So when you call on that divine law of restitution, know that it's in operation. It's your divine right, and it's happening, but you have to open your mind to allowing that to manifest in the best and highest way possible, and not keep your mind focused on, yeah, but did that person get punished? Okay, so that's the power of justice, and it's a very powerful card, and it's always a reminder that you can't fool the universe. You can't bring imbalance in the universe without it coming back around, without it coming back into balance. So that's what this justice means in regards to karma. Is not so much like you're going to get it back. It's just balance. It's just balance. You can't fool justice. You can't fool the universe. If there's an imbalance, it will be rebalanced. And so, and in the readings, almost always, this is in the favor of the person getting the reading, for their benefit. Look at this lovely dude. Now, this doesn't always have to appear as a male figure. It just happens to be a male figure in the cards. The Hermit card is the light bearer. This Hermit card is always carrying a lantern. There's a couple decks where he's put the lantern down on the ground and just kind of waiting for somebody to ask him a question. But this is the teacher. This is the wise teacher, the wise guide that knows everything that you need to do, everything you need to say, everything that you need to ask. This divine guide is constantly at our disposal and is very, very interested in our well-being. And the idea is that the light that is being shined can shine away any kind of darkness. Because this is a card of pure wisdom and enlightenment. And so if there's a problem, you can simply, when this card comes up, you can just simply remind yourself and have your client remind themselves, you call on that inner guide and you ask that their light be shined on this situation. And it will either be clear to you what you're supposed to do, or the situation will just disappear. So you always have that at your disposal, whether this card comes up in a reading or not. But when the card comes up in a reading, you are being just really called on to say, come on, use the help that's here for you. Use the help that's at your disposal. It's here now. It's closer to you than any person. You have this. It's in your mind. That's where the Hermit lives, is right inside your mind. And a lot of times when people hear, oh, it's just in my mind, as if that's something, less important than the physical world. There's no just in your mind. The mind is everything. That's where you exist. You don't exist in a body. You exist in a mind. It's through your mind that you interpret what the body sees and does and everything. So it's this Hermit teacher, this guide is very, very real. Is a very real presence, and it's somebody that's been assigned to you at birth, or even maybe before, and is your constant companion that wants only the best for you, that only wants you to make it in this world, and to make it in this world and beyond, and to be happy, and to be successful, and to be joyous and wise and free, and all of those good things. So when this Hermit card comes up, it's a reminder you have everything that you need at your disposal. Everything you need at your disposal. Okay, the Wheel of Fortune. The Wheel of Fortune, anytime I see a wheel, I always remind myself that there was a type of medieval philosophy that talked about everything in regards to a wheel. Everything was a wheel. And you see these spokes, or the different areas of life in our lives. So maybe this is your spiritual life, and your romantic life, and your financial life, and your professional life, and your social life, and your time alone life, and all the different aspects of our lives. And when we're existing on the perimeter of the wheel, it feels like all of those things are separate. So it's like, okay, well, I've got this, but then if I want to do that, it's all the way over here, and then it's all the way over there, right? And not only that, but if you're sitting on the edge of the wheel, when the wheel goes really fast, you're just really volatile. You go up and down and up and down and up and down and up and down. And that medieval philosophy like to remind us that you actually live on the hub. Everything emanates from you. All of these things. So you don't have a bunch of different things in your life. You don't have a bunch of different categories. Those categories emanate from you. And that if you place your awareness and your consciousness on the center and really become centered, there is no volatility. And that wheel can go as fast as it needs to in order to expand your good. And it doesn't cause you any sense of motion at all, because you're very stable right on that center. Okay, so these little beings out on the perimeter are depict the different parts of ourselves that get very upset or very glad or very up and very down, that are always feeling flung about by fortune. Yet the reality is that if we center ourselves, then we no longer identify with these beings at all. Instead, what we are primed then to do is allow that wheel to go very quickly. And when that wheel goes quickly, it starts to expand our good, because this is a card of Jupiter. It is one of the cards of Jupiter. And so if you can get, the more centered you can get. Now in the pip cards, it's usually more organized. You want to get really organized to invoke Jupiter. On the Wheel of Fortune, it's being centered and not allowing yourself to go up and down and up and down and up and down, to allow yourself to stay centered and to really center in your own mind to really get clear and grounded, so that that wheel can start to go very, very quickly. And the faster that wheel goes, the more it seems to expand your good. And so that's what this Wheel of Fortune is wanting to do when it's in a reading is, look, it's time for a big expansion of your good. All kinds of great stuff is happening for you. But if you don't get centered, it's not going to be fun. If you don't stay centered, it's not going to be fun, because then you're hanging out where you're not supposed to be. So find your center, stay centered, buckle in, and get ready, because it's going to be great. All right, so then we've got the other one that was transposed, the Strength card, or La Force. So the Strength card is a very beautiful, beautiful depiction of this sort of kind woman, female figure, taking a wild beast and opening its mouth. That's how fearless this person is, this being is. This is that part of consciousness that can tame wild beasts. And how do you tame a wild beast? Well, not by running away from it. That's for sure. You got to turn and face it, and really allow yourself to get centered in the idea that you're the boss, that you're in charge. And the more in charge you are, the less that those beasts within your life can wreak havoc on you. So the beasts are usually things that we're afraid of, the stuff that we tend to want to run away from, the things that we, I'll deal with that later. This is just too much for me to think about right now. Those kinds of things. And the more we do that, the more we just put things off and don't want to look at stuff and just pretend like everything's cool when it's not. The more we do that, the more those beasts can run around and get strong and then turn and rend us and really give us a lot of problems. And so this is talking about, when this comes up in a reading, is you need to really look at things that you're running away from, especially if you don't think you're running away from things, because that's that kind of dissociation that we can do with ourselves. It's like, oh no, everything's cool. This is saying, well, everything is cool, but you don't think it's cool. You're just faking it, because when this comes up, it's a very clear indication that you're not wanting to look at things that you're afraid of. And it's giving you the courage to look and turn and face it, so that you can be the lion tamer. You can be the one in charge. And these aren't the kinds of beasts that can ultimately ever harm you, but you think that they can harm you. Okay, and so our fears oftentimes get huge and gnarly and run after us and chase after us if we don't look at them. So it's being put upon us in this card to turn and face what we're afraid of, and recognize that when we do that beast either turns into our servant, like a beast of burden, or it disappears altogether. It's a very powerful card, and anytime it comes up, it's an indication that you want to turn and face your fears. But it's also a blessing. It's also a reminder that when you do that, it's not just, okay, well now at least I don't have that beast. It's that then that either that beast really helps you, or if it disappears, then you're completely free of it. But more often than not, these are just errant parts of our personality that have been misguided, misunderstood, or left alone. to fend for themselves, and they do their best, and they go out and they try to, cause problems for us just because they don't know any better. And so when you get this card, it's saying, yeah, but you can take those subpersonalities and make friends with them. And then not only are they not going to wreak havoc, they're actually going to go and help you. To the degree that they were causing you problems before is the degree to which they are going to help you get your goals met or your needs met or whatever is up for you, whatever you need. So these are parts of your personality that ultimately, for the most part, most of the time, are there to help us, but they just need to be reprogrammed. All right. Le pendu. And so this hanged man is hanging by a foot. That doesn't look very comfortable to me. I can just feel how hard on the hips that would be. Right? And he hooks his leg behind there, and he's bound. His wrists are bound behind him. He's just hanging by a foot. So this is the ultimate victim card, because he couldn't have put himself up there, right? Somebody did that to him. Somebody put him up on that. So there's a victim experience that's going on here. Now, a lot of times when this comes up, I'm trying to help people to turn it around so that they aren't being victimized anymore. And a lot of times people misunderstand that when I say that. I had somebody get really upset with me and sent me some comment about it, even though I was really clear, because they think, well, no, you can't do anything to allow yourself to be freed from this victimization, because then you're blaming the victim by saying that. It's not true. You're not blaming yourself for being victimized if you take responsibility and say, I'm going to do something about it. But what can this person do? What facility does this person have? They don't have their hands. They don't have their foot. They've got this one foot. I guess they could flail it about, but then that would just make them swing back and forth even more and more uncomfortably. Well, the mystery of this is that ultimately you're not hanging by a foot. You just think you are. You're being hypnotized by the world into believing that you could be victimized like this. That ultimately this is the truth, and that you're standing and you need to put this foot down. So what this card oftentimes is talking about is, to the degree that you're being victimized, you don't necessarily say, oh, I'm not victimized. Yeah, if you are, you are. If you're being victimized, you're being victimized. But this is saying you have the power to say no. You do have the power to say no. And that power to say no maybe doesn't hold a lot of weight in the physical world. If somebody's victimizing you and you say no, that doesn't necessarily make them stop. But in the universe's world, if you say no and you say, I'm putting my foot down, the universe says, good, we're here to help you. And then the universe rushes in to take care of you. So what this is all about is saying, even though I know I'm feeling victimized, and I may in truth be victimized here, I'm not going to see it this way. I'm going to ask the universe to heal my perceptions. I want to look at this right side up instead of upside down. I want to see where my power is. And I get that one of my biggest things that I can do is put my foot down and say no when I mean no, and yes when I mean yes. And so even though it may not seem like it will make that big of a difference, ask yourself, where can I say no? Where have I been putting up with things that I don't have to? Where do I have a voice that I haven't been using it? Right? And the more I use it, the more these things unbind, the more unbound I am, and the more I can put my foot down, and the more I can put myself right side up and walk away from this completely. Because being a victim is not the universe's will for you. And the universe wants to free you from that. But you have to, everything in life has to come from our own decisions, has to come from our own intentions. We have to start the ball rolling. And so the ball rolling here is saying, no, I want to see things differently. I'm going to see things right side up, and I want to put my foot down and say no when I mean no, and yes when I mean yes. And I expect that the universe is going to rush in and underwrite all my efforts in doing that and free me from this experience, and it will. All right, then we have this beautiful death card, which is not labeled in the old Marseille Tarot. It was never called death. We just call it that. It was just called card 13. This is a skeletal figure with a scythe that's beheading a lot of people, dismembering a lot of people, just fields of dismemberment and killing. Well, what's it dismembering? What's it killing? Ultimately, death is the servant of life, because anything living, the life itself, can't die. Bodies can die. Situations can die. Anything in the temporal world will die. Nothing in this three-dimensional reality can last, because it won't. It can't. It's the nature of this kind of reality to have a past, a present, and a future, and then eventually have a nothing. Everything in this world is subject to change, decay, and death on some level or another. So this is a reminder that death ultimately is the servant of life. And so when the death card comes up, we want death to serve our lives, not to come up against our lives. And the way we do that is by letting death kill off everything that is not working for us, killing off our problems, killing off our poverty, killing off our judgmentalness, killing off our arguments, killing off our fights, our conflicts, killing off the things which no longer serve us. So it's up to us when death comes, how willing we are to allow death to just really come in and have its way. You can just say, when the death card comes up, you can just say, yeah, you have at it. You go. Because I know death can't touch me. I'm a soul. I'm not a body. I have nothing to worry about regarding death. Death can't kill me. But death can sure have at it in every other area. And since death is a servant of life, I'm not going to get involved. I'm not going to interfere in any way whatsoever. So I want everything to be leveled. I want death to come in and just go for it. So I want this to be what I see, this battlefield of dismemberment. That's what I want, because I know the only thing that can be dismembered are my problems, ultimately. Because infinite intelligence's will for me is happiness and joy. And since death serves infinite intelligence, we want death to work on its behalf. And if I go in and interfere, then I can get in trouble with death. But I'm just going to let death do its thing, right? So that's why I have a meditation on this card called killing off, or letting problems die, letting problems die. It's you're letting death do its thing. So when death comes in a reading, it's usually really good news, but you just don't want to interfere. That's the bottom line. So don't interfere. Just let it do its thing. It knows what it's doing. Okay, Temperance. This is the angel card. Temperance, the angel card. She is the alchemist there. She's the scientist, and he, she, it, they is mixing up a potion. So this is your guardian angel. Why would this be coming up for you if it wasn't for you? This is your angel. This is your guardian angel. Your guardian angel has something to say to you, has some message for you, has some help for you, has some healing for you. Mixing up this elixir, this angelic elixir just for you. Because temperance is all about nothing too much. Only just enough, only just the right amount. And this angel knows exactly what's the right amount of everything for you. You don't have that vantage point. You can't do what the angel can do. So if you get this card in a reading, or your client gets this card in a reading, it's a reminder that there is a force that is there to care for you, that knows exactly what you need in any situation, much more than you'll ever be able to understand. And so when you can receive that angelic elixir, when you can receive those adjustments, that is wonderful. But then you need to, once you learn what those adjustments are, you need to commit to them. So you may be getting a very clear indication that, okay, I need to stop working so hard, or I need to, maybe give myself more balance in my work life. I need to have more balance in my relationship. Whatever it is, whatever the elixir is for, you'll be very clear, and also the other cards around it will be very clear about what that is. But there is an intelligence in the world that we call your guardian angel that knows how to get you what you need, that knows how to fix this, that knows how to heal you. So I call this the angelic elixir, and I call it a healing elixir, and you can receive the healing that you need just by saying yes to it, just by recognizing that this power exists, and that it's not only interested in you getting the healing that you need in whatever situation is necessary, but knows exactly how to do that healing in just the right way, specific to you. That you need in a way that's specific, that nobody else would need it that way. Okay, so it's very unique what you need. You have a unique level of service required by the universe, and that unique level of service is being granted, is being given unto you. But you need to allow yourself to receive it, and then when you receive that information, when you receive those blessings, when you receive that healing, you also need to learn how to modify your behavior in accordance to what you're receiving. So maybe, like I said, maybe it's working less, maybe it's working more, maybe whatever you need, it'll be very clear what you need. Oh, good. I love the Devil card. The Devil card is one of those that people are going, they freak out about the Devil. And the Devil is not a bad card. All of the Triumph cards, all the Trump cards, the Major Arcana so-called, are some sort of spiritual assistance, including this one. Now, the spiritual assistance here is for you to untie yourself from something, to unbind yourself. Usually you're tied to something based on fear. And then a lot of times what happens is we're tied to it and we're afraid, and that's why we're so bound to something, and then we don't even realize we're doing this. We don't even see that this whole situation is happening. And see, the thing that this also reminds us is you can't tie yourself all by yourself. You're always tying somebody else with you, whether you know it or not. Somebody else is getting the benefit of your fear. So you just like you can't go into Noah's Ark, it's got to go in 2 by 2. Well, the same thing, getting tied to the devil, that's got to happen 2 by 2 as well. So all of this is simply just a reminder that what you're tying yourself to is not good for you. And that you have to remind yourself that you're doing it out of fear. You're afraid. And so if you don't realize that you're afraid, then you're not going to look at the fear, and then you're not going to be able to allow yourself to be untied, and you're just going to stay stuck. So a lot of people say, I'm not afraid. I have nothing to fear. I'm fine. I'm not afraid. And so then they stay stuck because they're not willing to look at the fact that they are. They're paralyzed by fear, which is what that tying is. So it depends on everything that's surrounding it, but sometimes people are tied to a specific outcome. No, it's got to be like this, or a specific person, or a specific job, or a specific whatever. Sometimes people are tied to addictions. They're tied to certain substances. They're tied to unhealthy relationships. They're tied to unhealthy schedules. I mean, whatever it is, they think this is how things are. This is how they have to be. And the devil here is saying, yeah, but the only reason why you're my prisoner is because you've tied yourself to me. You've tied yourself to me. And so I'm here actually here to release you from this. And if you listen to my meditation, based on the devil, you'll recognize that these chains are nothing. These chains are, we think we're chained and we're bound, we've got our hands bound behind our neck and we're chained around the neck. We've got our hands bound behind our back and we're chained around the neck. But these chains are about as powerful as a piece of paper. And that we're only bound because we believe we are. It's that story of the elephants in Thailand, where they would keep them penned up. They'd keep them penned up and they'd keep them penned up. And little by little, they would always have a particular rope that would be around them. And so and they would, as the elephants grew up and they were traveling around to do the things that they needed to do with the elephants, have their shows and things like that, they would just put rope around the elephant. And the elephant would believe that they were still penned up because they saw that rope. And they didn't realize they could just walk over that rope and be gone. And everything, they're not penned up. And that's what this is all about. We think that we're really bound to certain things just because we don't realize that there's really no bond there. The bond is in our mind. And so this is a wonderful card to help you to be free from the ties that bind you. Another beautiful card, La Maison Dieu, the House of God. This is the Tower card. Now, I love this card. This is supposed to be a lightning bolt. It's the best they could do back then with those limitations that they had in woodblock designs. And this tower is being struck. These are, they can be depictions of the bolt of lightning and energy. They can be depictions of debris falling off from the tower being destroyed. And these people are jumping out of the windows, trying to escape from being in the demolishment of it. So the tower was built up over time, and it says the house of God. Well, it was built up because it became God for whoever it was that built this tower. This tower was so built up over so many, however long, that it became God for that person. And God came back in and said, yeah, but I'm God. So let's just destroy all of this stuff that's a distraction for you so that you can be free from it. Now, again, God never comes in unattended or uninvited. So at some point or another, if you got this tower card, you had some sort of an invitation. At some point or another, things were being built up and built up and built up and built up, that you finally said, there's got to be a better way. There's got to be something I can do about this. There's got to be a better way than this. And that's usually enough. And then God says, okay. And I'm saying the word God. You can use whatever word works for you, but it's just sort of like a universal word, so it makes it easier. So God said, okay, since you asked, and then everything gets blown up. But I always liken this to be like, the tower is so old and so crusty and so decaying and rat infested and filled with everything you don't want, that you've just been pack ratting for so long, building up over so long, that taking it apart brick by brick and reorganizing things little by little, there's no way. You would never get through it. So God says, the foundation is cracked here. Okay, there's nothing that's salvageable here. Let's just blow the whole thing up and start from scratch. And that's a good thing. And so these people jumping out of the tower are your own thought forms that built this up, wanting to be saved. But you don't want those thought forms to be saved. You don't want those thought forms to be saved because they'll just build up another tower later. So all of that tendency toward tower building, toward pack ratting, toward worn out things, worn out people, worn out relationships, worn out stuff, worn out concepts, worn out stuff that you've just been hanging on to just because it's always been that way. You want it gone, and you want to stay clear, and you want to stay fresh, so that whatever's built up in its place is not built by you, but is built by infinite intelligence on your behalf. So yeah, tower experiences can be scary. They can be something people don't want to go through. But when you realize what's really at stake, what's really going on here, yes, you do. Yes, you do. You just don't want to be in the tower when it collapses. So when you see this card, you're just like, okay, get away from the tower, get your popcorn, watch the implosion, and be grateful for the fact that it's over and that you now are free. You are freed from all of that. You can breathe easy and build up all kinds of gorgeous new stuff. All right, here's our star card, this star goddess. Now oftentimes she's pouring from one pitcher onto the dry earth and one pitcher into the body of water, and sometimes she's pouring both pitchers into the body of water. When she's pouring one on dry land and one into the body of water, it can mean that she is purifying not only your deep mind, but purifying the manifestations from your mind as well. But mostly what she's here to do is purify your deep mind, purify your consciousness of everything that is not like perfection, because you are a star. You are a star in the company of stars. And so this star goddess here is the goddess of grace. I say that her love is like the love of a mother, that no matter what you've done or what anybody's done in your past, that can't change her opinion of you, because she knows who you are. She sees you in a way that you can't see yourself. In other words, the star goddess knows you better than you know yourself. She knows who you are as a soul. And she even has this beautiful bird here always around her. So this is a very Rhiannon sort of an experience. Anybody that knows the Mabinogion, the stories of Rhiannon, this is a wonderful image of her as well. But this star goddess, what she does for us is she is grace. And grace, like I said, is like the love of a mother for a child. And that love is not only very healing, yes it is, very, very healing, and this is a type of healing, but what it is it's a type of transformation that can undo, that can wash clean your past mistakes. So anything that you've done in the past that you think is ready to come back and bite you, or anything that's happened in your past that normally would cause a particular consequence, through the grace of the star goddess, she undoes those consequences so that they don't happen. And that you can learn your lessons in a very peaceful and serene manner so that you no longer create those kinds of consequences any longer. So that you're living a life of grace rather than a life of karma. So you're living a life of grace rather than always cause and effect, cause and effect, cause and effect. It is still cause and effect, but it's cause and effect on a grand scale. The cause is grace and the effect is bliss. Right? So if you're receiving effects that aren't very blissful, it's a good thing to call on this star goddess. And if she comes up in a reading, it's a reminder that you don't have to feel guilty about your past anymore, because you're making new choices now, and that she can undo all those consequences and let go of all of that feeling bad about what happened, or feeling guilty about what happened, or even feeling blameful toward others about what happened. This is ultimately the card of forgiveness, but on such a profound level that it's the forgiveness that really heals everything and makes it pure. It's a beautiful, beautiful card. La Lune, this is not the moon goddess card. This is the card of lunacy. This is the card of lunacy. This is the card of the lunatic. This is all of the types of the moon that are where people respond negatively to the lunar phases because they don't understand how to work with them. So here's a crawfish, here's two dogs. These are very lunar symbols. They're baying at the moon, right? And these are all vibrations coming down from the moon. And this is that body of water separating you from dry land. And so when the moon card comes up, it's usually that we are at the effect of our emotions. We're at the effect of illusions and delusions. We're not seeing things clearly. We're not seeing what's really happening. We are seeing what we think is happening. And when the moon card comes up, we have to remind ourselves not to believe what we see, not to believe in appearances because they're wrong, especially now. This wouldn't have come up. And so whatever it is that the decisions that you're making about yourself in the world, stop, because you're wrong. You are absolutely wrong about it. And so what you want to do instead is follow whatever else the reading is recommending, but you can call directly on the moon goddess herself for to circumvent your own interpretation and allow her interpretation to come through for you, because she sees what's really happening from her vantage point. But because you're misinterpreting her energy, you're misinterpreting what's going on around here, you need a new vantage point. You need some part of you needs to be connected to the truth. So this is a really good time to call on that moon goddess, that mother goddess, that auntie goddess, because it's really an aunt, not a mother. If you think of the earth as our mother, at least here temporally, she's our mother. This the moon is a satellite of the mother. It was probably caused by an asteroid that hit the earth and caused a chunk of the earth to get flung out, which is probably where all those floods came from, when that cataclysm happened. And as a result of that cataclysm, we then have this satellite going around and around and around, which is great because then it creates, the tides and all of that, and it creates the emotional pulls, and it creates magic, all kinds of good things, but it also creates illusion. So we want to call on the goddess of the moon to show us the truth instead of the illusion that we're seeing. Or whatever else you like to use as your idea of a higher power. It doesn't have to be a moon goddess. I just like the moon goddess because she's the one in charge of the moon anyway. So she's going to be able to help you to see clearly. But you can't see clearly. It's very important to recognize that when the moon card comes up. Unlike with the sun card. With the sun card, you can see very clearly. You can see very clearly. Look at this. This is, these two are kind of wrestling, but at the same time, they are such good friends. They are such good friends, these two. And this is a reminder that the sun is your friend. The sun is our friend. If the sun stopped shining for whatever reason, everybody'd be gone here. We'd have nothing. If the sun decided, I'm done with this, then we'd be gone. Everything would be gone. So the sun is our best friend. The sun is our very, very good friend. And you have such a good friend in that solar light. That solar light, it comes straight from sphere number 6 on the Tree of Life, and it knows exactly what's necessary. It knows the divine design of your life. It knows the divine design of your life. Now, the solar light and the sun aren't really our physical sun. The physical sun is just a representation of a greater principle. There's one, what we call the universal sun, and that's what this means. There's that old invocation, "O thou who creates the universe of all things seen and unseen, whose face shines forth, but hidden by a disk of golden light." So the face of the sun the light of the sun actually hides the true face of the sun. There's another ancient saying that God looks through the face of the sun, but isn't the sun. So that's a similar kind of idea here, is that the sun is a representation of the solar light. And the solar light is a universal power that knows, that is the divine design. It's the same light that creates everything that we need in this universe. And it creates you. And you are an extension of it. And so when you are allowing yourself to align with that solar light, then things reorganize themselves because the sun is an organizing force. It reorganizes itself to conform to the divine design. And that's why it's such a good friend. It's so friendly to us. And if there's something in our lives that is unfriendly, the sun will change it, will reorganize it so it becomes friendly, so that we see the truth of it. So this is a very beautiful card. It's a recommendation of working with that solar light, but it's also an indication of great success, great joy, great happiness. It's a wonderful, wonderful card. The Judgment card. I love this card. So this angel is blaring its trumpet to awaken everybody from their sleep within their graves, and comes right with this solar cross and all straight out from the solar light. The solar light is behind this angel. So this, I don't know who this angel is. I know that a lot of people say it's Gabriel, but if you're working angel magic, you could probably say it's probably more like Michael. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter, because it's just a symbol recognizing that we are among the walking dead here, that we are all in a deep slumber, a death-like sleep in our graves, and that there's always an angel wanting to wake us up, wanting to wake us up with all kinds of spiritual energy, spiritual force fields, and that if we are awake to our good, then we can receive those blessings. But if we believe what we see, this is back to that moon card again, if we believe what we see in front of us rather than the truth of it, then we are just dreaming inside of our graves. We're laying in a grave dreaming, and nothing is happening. Nothing worthwhile is happening. We're just wasting our time. But as soon as we allow ourselves to wake up to our good, wake up to the truth of who we are, wake up to what's really going on, and allowing that angel to just stir us and wake us, then we can receive those blessings and things can change in a radical way. So this is always an indicator that you got to wake up. You got to wake up to your good. You got to realize that those blessings are here. Receive them. You have to receive them. It's just like on a radio dial. If you can have a very, very strong radio signal just beaming and beaming and beaming, but if you don't turn on the radio and turn it to the right dial, you won't get the station. And so, how to get to the right station here? How to receive this is to actually consciously recognize that it's there and say, I am receiving. I'm receiving my good. I'm receiving all the blessings that the universe has for me. And you have to be conscious and aware of it. That's how you tune that dial, to receive all of this. Otherwise, it's just there in potential. Oh, are we done? Well, that was easy and fast. And then we've got the World. The World is the strongest card in the deck. Now, it's possible that the Fool card is the strongest card in the deck, because if at the beginning of playing the game of tarot, you say the Fool can take any trick, then it can actually trump the World. So in that case, if you've decided at the beginning of the game, then the Fool might be the strongest card. But that's up to how things are set up at the beginning of the game. But on paper, this is the strongest, highest card, and it can take every trick. And so can you. When you receive this, it's a reminder you are powerful. You have all the power to have anything happen that you need to happen, but you have to play your cards right. And these guys around here, these are all those cherubs, some say cherub, all those angelic forces, all those watchers that are represented by the fixed signs of the zodiac: Leo, Taurus, Aquarius, and Scorpio. And they all are surrounding you because you are in a circle of angelic protection, and you are literally free to move about the world as you will, unencumbered from any problem, should you desire that to be so. And so this is a very, very powerful card that's saying that you're really operating at your optimum, and that it's really important to call on that angelic protection so that you're aware of it, because everything has to happen through our awareness. All of this is meaningless if we don't actually do something about it. So we're just saying, okay, I'm going to call on those those four angels around me. You don't have to know what they're called. You don't have to know their names. You don't have to know that they're the four, fixed signs of the zodiac. You can just say angels before me, angels behind me, angels to the right of me, angels to the left of me. Angels walk about me wherever I go. I am free. I am protected. I am safe, and I can succeed, and I am willing to succeed in all ways. Right? And so look at this. You've got many symbols of power here. Many, many different symbols of power. And you have to remind yourself that you are powerful. You are the beloved child of the universe. And that's not nothing. That is something important. That is something highly important. And the world and our ego wants us to see ourselves very mundanely. And this card is showing who you are at your core. You are male and female. In the Psalms, this is called Israel, Isis, Ra, and God. That's who this is. And that's representational of your soul and who you are as a soul. And you want to interact with this world as a soul, not an ego, because that's how you can be powerful. It's a beautiful, beautiful card. And so that does it for the trump cards, the triumph cards, or the major arcana. We've gone through the whole deck now, so we've done our basics, we've done all our fundamentals, and so we'll start with some spreads next week, and we'll keep moving forward to show not only how you can do more and more with your divinations, but also how you can use the tarot cards to grow spiritually, as part of your own spiritual program, and also how you can use them magically in your spellcasting process as well. All right, thank you so much. Let me check real quick and see if I have any questions before we get gone, and then I got to get to work. Nope, we didn't have any questions today. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much to our moderator team today. We had Dre and Heather on YouTube and Deline on Twitch. So thank you so much. Much love, and we'll see everybody next week for readings, for personal readings. So if you want a personal reading, get here right at the beginning of the stream and get your name in the queue, and then we will move forward the week after with the next tarot lesson. Much love and many, many blessings.